Hi, I'm Martin, and this is Short Stories, brought to you by the Taichung Language Center. Today's short story is called Sad Movies. Do you like to watch sad movies? I don't think I really like to watch sad movies, but I don't know, my wife does. Well, we're going to learn about how sad movies affect your brain, and they do, in fact, affect your brain in some pretty cool ways. Before we learn about that, though, I'm going to teach you some vocabulary and vocabulary example sentences. After we have finished the reading, I will read 4 listening comprehension questions. All right, let's begin. Vocabulary. As it turns out. As it turns out. As it turns out. 1958 was an important year for industry. Have a burning desire to do something. Have a burning desire to do something. I have a burning desire to go to Kending for a visit. Take part in. Take part in. Everyone who takes part in the contest will win a prize. Be divided into. Be divided into. The 300-page book was divided into 10 chapters. Puzzle. Puzzle. This question puzzles me. I wonder how the teacher expects me to answer it. Phenomenon. Phenomenon. An interesting phenomenon takes place on that small beach each winter. Intriguing. Intriguing. This magazine always has many intriguing articles. Trigger. Trigger. The star's constant appearance on TV triggered an increase in sales of her autobiography. Recruit. Recruit. Some cram schools find it hard to recruit new students these days. Experimental. Experimental. We are still in the experimental stages of the project. Participant. Participant. All the participants in the race are the best in their schools. Neutral. Neutral. I didn't take sides during their fight. I tried to remain neutral. Conversely. Conversely. My friend thought the movie was incredible. Conversely, I left the theater disappointed. Now for the story. Researchers in England have discovered some interesting things about how sad movies affect us in different ways. Have you ever puzzled over why so many people enjoy watching tearjerkers? As it turns out, researchers from England's University of Oxford had a burning desire to investigate that very phenomenon. The results are intriguing and appear to suggest that we are biologically wired to favor movies that bring tears to our eyes. In short, sad movies seem to trigger the release of chemicals in our brains called endorphins that act to increase our pain threshold and increase positive feelings. In the recent study, Robin Dunbar, a professor of evolutionary psychology at Oxford, and his research team recruited volunteers to take part in an experiment. The volunteers were divided into 2 groups. An experimental group of 169 people watched a sad movie called Stuart, A Life Backwards, based on a true story about a homeless man who eventually kills himself. Another 68 participants watched a documentary on the Natural History Museum in London and 1 film about Irish archaeology and geology. These films were considered neutral. having little or no emotional impact. Later, they tested each person's reaction to pain by asking him or her to sit in a crouched position with their back against the wall until their legs ached. The results suggest that in the majority of subjects who watched the depressing movie, pain tolerance increased by 13.1% due to a rise in the release of endorphins. Conversely, for most of those who sat through the neutral documentaries, a decrease of 4.6% in their pain threshold occurred. The researchers concluded that the endorphin rush caused by watching sad movies makes them a natural painkiller. In addition, they also generally improved people's moods, as shown by participants' answers to questions after viewing the film. Now for the listening comprehension questions. What is the main idea of the reading? A. Watching sad movies triggers pain in some people. B. Researchers were confused by the results of their study. C. People's sense of pain was dulled by watching depressing movies. D. Documentaries about endorphins make people feel sad. The answer is C. People's sense of pain was dulled by watching depressing movies. Remember, it said that if you watched a depressing movie, your pain tolerance increased by 13%. That means you are less likely to feel pain if you watch a sad movie. Question 2. According to the reading, how does watching sad movies give people more tolerance to pain? A. It increases the level of a certain chemical in the brain. B. It makes people feel better about others. C. It helps people to feel the pain that actors experience in movies. D. It strengthens the muscles in the legs and other parts of the body. The answer is A. It increases the level of a certain chemical in the brain. That chemical is called endorphins. Question 3. Which of the following is true? A. Watching sad movies lowered people's endorphin levels. B. People who watched neutral documentaries saw an increase in their pain tolerance. C. Watching the film about a London museum had no effect on brain chemicals. D. Viewing depressing movies temporarily changed the chemistry in the brain. The answer is D. Viewing depressing movies temporarily changed the chemistry in the brain. Question 4. How did researchers measure participants' emotions? A. By asking them to crouch against a wall. B. By examining their responses to a questionnaire. C. By reading their reviews of a sad movie. D. By measuring the amount of dolphins in their brains. The answer is B. They examined their responses to a question. Remember, the question is, how did the researchers measure participants' emotions? Okay, we're not measuring their pain tolerance here. They're measuring their emotions. How did they feel after watching the movie? And the only way to know that is to ask them questions. So B is the correct answer. Well, that's the end of today's short story. I don't know if this is true or not, but I do know that my wife loves to cry at movies, and she always feels better afterwards. So I guess it might be true after all. Well, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.